Hello, Waldo Figueroa here. In this video, we're going to go over how to use shaders, lights, and rendering. We're going to start off with lights first, but before we do that, we need to set up our scene. Where I'm here in Maya, I want to go ahead and set up my project directory. I'm going to go to File up here. I'm going to set a project window. So project window. For this one, I'm going to create a new project directory. I'm going to call this rendering demo. I'm going to select a location. I want to make sure that it's in the right location that I want to save this. It opens up the Maya file browser. I want to make sure that my folder is selected, this 316 folder that I'm going to use. I'm going to tell it to select, and I'm going to tell it to accept, and I'm going to go ahead and tell it to file, save my scene, and within here I want to make sure that it's already set to my location. It's a rendering demo scenes. I'm just going to call these uh, lights and shaders. Save scene as, continue. And before I do anything, I need to create my little scene. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use this tab right here to create a plane. I'm going to click on this plane. It's just creating a default plane based on the settings. I'm going to switch to my scale tool, which is R on my keyboard, or this tool over here. And I'm going to click on the center box, which is already highlighted yellow, and I'm going to scale it out to create a floor plane. Then what I want to do, I want to create a couple of spheres. I'm going to go into the create menu because I want to make sure that my sphere option box, I want to make sure that these are set to default. I'm going to go to edit, reset settings, which they are, and I'm going to go ahead and tell it to create. So this sphere, if I go into the inputs, it's already selected. In the channel box, I'm going to the inputs. It has a radius of 1, which is totally fine. I'm actually going to change this to a radius of uh, 1.5 return, just to make it a little bit larger. Then I'm going to switch to the translate Y. I'm also going to change this to 1.5 so that this sphere, it appears as if it's uh, sitting or standing, leaning on this floor. And for my scene, I actually want to have a couple of copies of this sphere. I'm going to switch to my move tool, pressing W on the keyboard, and I am going to use a keyboard shortcut, which is found under Edit for duplicate. I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut, which on a Mac it's Command D, on a PC it's Control D. So I'm going to go ahead, make sure it's just selected. I'm going to press the keyboard shortcut, Command and Control D. Since I have the Move tool, it's already selected. I could see over here my outliner. I have Sphere 1, Sphere 2. I want to go ahead and click this box right here so that it is locked to the XZ axis. So I'm going to move this off to the side. I'm going to do it again, Control or Command D to duplicate it. I want to create 5 spheres in total. And you can see they're all appear as if they're on this plane, this polygon plane. A little bit later, I'm going to be renaming these different spheres. But for right now, let me go ahead and just rename the floor. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to go over here in the channel box. I'm just going to rename this floor. These other spheres I will rename in a future demonstration tutorial. Right now, they are just going to be spheres. What I wanted to do, I wanted to set this up first, because now what I want to do, I first want to explore lights. And in order to render, that is our goal, we need a couple of things. If we render out right now, say for example, let's go ahead and do that, just to see what we get. I'm going to access the tools that are found within my interface. This button right here, this is the render the current frame button. Or if you switch to the rendering menu set under render, you do have the render current frame. So I want to go ahead and just click on this button right here. it's going to, based on your settings, it's going to render out your scene. But check this out. It looks like there's nothing here, and that is correct. We don't see anything because we do not have a light. Right now, by default, we have the Arnold renderer selected. What I want to do for this demonstration, instead of using the Arnold renderer, I want to start off with using software rendering. In a future class session, we will explore Arnold rendering, but I want us to get a base understanding of rendering first. So instead of using the Arnold renderer, we could click right here. You can see that we have different types of renderers available. I want to use Maya software in this instance. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. So instead of using Arnold, which is ray tracing, I now have Maya software. And if I click on this button right here, which is the same button that we found up here, this is going to re-render our shot. And now we actually get a view of what's in here. A couple things that I want to point out. First, at the very bottom, it gives us our resolution. Right now I have the default resolution, which is, I believe, set to HD 540. So this is the resolution. It gives us a couple of stats. This is frame one. Render time, it took 2 seconds. Depending on how complex your scene is, how many objects you have, how many lights, shaders, what other effects you have, it'll give you a time, and also how fast your computer is, how many processors and threads, RAM you have. It gives you uh, how long it took to render this. This took uh, 2 seconds to render out. But if you notice here, a couple things that are missing. With Maya software, by default, if you don't add a light, it's as if the light is coming from the direction of your selected camera. In this case, I was using my perspective camera, and you can notice that it's just light as if light from a camera that's coming from the lens. If I rotate my view, I'm going to go ahead and move this window off to the side. If I rotate my view, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this window back in here, and I'm going to update, it renders out from this new view, but also notice that there is a lack of shadows. Again, we have our default light from our selected camera, and there's no shadows. Now I want to change that because we're now going to explore our different lights. But what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to stop this video because I want to go ahead and create a separate video for each different light that we're going to explore. These are going to be, you're going to play one of these videos one after another. So for right now, I'm going to close this render window. I'm going to go ahead and save, Command or Control S, and my scene is ready to be able to explore lights. So I'll see you in that next video.